Today I'm going to be exposing Donald Trump and 6 of his other characters. As you guys can see, his base character is Aleister Crowley. It's very obvious that Donald Trump's base character is the satanic false prophet Aleister Crowley. Donald Trump is just one of 6 characters that were made out of Aleister Crowley. And before I get into the video, I want to give a quick disclaimer. Everything in this video is just my opinion based off my research. I have to give this disclaimer because they're very sensitive about the characters that I will be exposing in this video. So make sure you guys like the video, share, subscribe. Make sure you guys share this information because once you know that the leaders of this world are not real people, you can see through the entire deception of the Matrix. And it's very obvious with Donald Trump. He's already painted as a character on the world stage. Everyone sees him as a joke. So that's why I'm exposing this character, because if only people knew that presidents were just characters on the world stage, they wouldn't take it so serious and they wouldn't be in fear all the time. So my goal with this video is just to get people to realize that presidents are characters as well. So don't believe anything they say on the news or in their speeches. It's all to spread fear and get people to vote. Once you vote, you're a part of the system. So I don't recommend for anyone to vote. But anyways, let's get into the video. So as you guys can see by this side-by-side comparison, Donald Trump looks exactly like Aleister Crowley. So here's a really good comparison of Donald Trump and Aleister Crowley. And right here, they look exactly alike. And in this comparison right here, you can see that they have the same mannerisms and the same mouth. So this one is very easy to see. Even if you look at younger pictures of Donald Trump and Aleister Crowley, you can still see that they have a strong resemblance. And the media put this one in plain sight. There's so many articles talking about the startling parallels between Donald Trump and occultist Aleister Crowley. There's a ton of articles comparing these two characters in the media. So in case you don't know who Aleister Crowley is, Aleister Crowley was an English occultist, philosopher, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. He founded the religion of Thelema, identifying himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity into the Eon of Horus in the early 20th century. So he identifies himself as a prophet, and obviously he's a character on the world stage, so he's a false prophet. So Aleister Crowley was someone who was very deep into occultic and esoteric knowledge. And with characters like this, they do tell some truth, but they mix in a lot of lies. So that's why I don't recommend reading these characters' books or getting deep into their philosophies, because they mix a lot of truth with lies. You're better off researching this stuff on your own. So Aleister Crowley claims to be a prophet, and this is a big connection to Donald Trump because Christians see Donald Trump as a prophet. As you guys can see, there's many articles talking about this. And all religions are a part of the Matrix, by the way. Most of you guys agreed with the post I made on my community tab, where I talked about how all major organizations and religions were created by the Matrix. At the end of the day, the truth is within you. You don't need any external factors like religions. All you have to do is follow your own path. Even in the Bible, it says that it's a narrow path. And if you guys want more information about me exposing religions, you can go watch my video on my Patreon that got removed from my YouTube channel. The link to this video is in the description. So now let's talk about how Donald Trump is doing the same occultic symbolism as Aleister Crowley. So here we see Donald Trump doing symbolism. And right here we see Aleister Crowley with this triangle with the Eye of Horus. And here's some pictures of Donald Trump doing more symbolism in plain sight. Every time he gives speeches or does an interview, he's always doing symbolism. Here he is doing symbolism again. And most people see Donald Trump as evil. They've painted this picture in the media that he's a very evil character. So that's also a big connection to him being Aleister Crowley, because Aleister Crowley is known as the most wicked man on earth. And here we see Donald Trump and 2 other billionaires touching this globe in a dark room. And this looks like a very weird ritual.
Now, along with the Saudi king and president of Egypt, President Trump touched a globe to turn on the center. Look at this. Well, now it's the orb seen around the internet. One person said, it looks like the orb in the original Total Recall movie from the 90s. And then someone else gave the globe the Pokemon treatment. And then this guy tweeted a Kenny Loggins album cover saying, in case you were wondering who made that orb.
Notice how they made memes out of it and everyone just laughed it off. But they're showing us in plain sight that the people who are presented as the rulers of the world are evil and aren't actually real people. And notice how the Church of Satan's Twitter responded to this picture, and they said, for clarification, this is not a satanic ritual. And this is a big connection because Aleister Crowley was a Satanist. So another huge connection between Donald Trump and Aleister Crowley is the fact that Donald Trump was born on the 14th of June in 1946, which means he was born during a blood moon in Queens, New York. And the infamous occultist Aleister Crowley sent a letter to fellow Thelemite John McMurtry mentioning that members Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, and others were involved in producing a moon child. So Aleister Crowley sent a letter talking about how he was involved in producing a moon child, and then right after that, his other character is born on a blood moon. And as you guys can see, they called him a moon child, and Donald Trump and moon child have the same gematria of 48. And then we see that Donald Trump and moon ritual and guide stones have the same gematria in 3 ciphers. Another connection is the fact that Donald Trump shared Megan Crowley's story. Check this out.
An incredible young woman is with us this evening. Today is Rare Disease Day, and joining us in the gallery is a rare disease survivor, Megan Crowley. Megan.
And this is an obvious connection because she shares the same last name as Aleister Crowley. So not only is there many connections between Aleister Crowley and Donald Trump, but they also look exactly alike right here, and they even have the same gematria. So Aleister Crowley and Donald Trump both have the same gematria of 190. And then their first names, Donald and Aleister, have the same gematria of 24. And then their last names, Trump and Crowley, also share the same gematria with the number 88. And then Aleister and Donald Trump have the same gematria of 40 and 36. Something that a lot of people don't know about Donald Trump, his family's last name isn't actually Trump because their original last name is actually Drump. As you can see, even the fact checkers acknowledge that Donald Trump's family surname was actually Drump. Donald Trump's ancestors changed the family surname from Drump to Trump. So I did some gematria with Donald Drump, which would be his actual name if they never changed it to Trump. And as you can see, Aleister Crowley and Donald John Trump have the same gematria of 80. So this is where it gets very interesting because not only are they connected in gematria, but they're also connected with Aleister Crowley's birthday and death date. So Aleister Crowley was born in 1875, and Donald J. Trump equals 57, which is 75 in reverse. And then we see that Aleister Crowley faked his death at age 72, and Donald John Trump equals 72. And notice how Crowley equals 27, which is 72 reversed, and he faked his death at age 72. So it's obvious that his death was scripted. Then we see that Aleister Crowley died on December 1st. December 1st is 12/1 in numerical format, which is 121. And Donald Trump equals 121. And Aleister Crowley faked his death in 1947. And as you can see, Donald Trump's entire name equals 47. So Donald is 47, John is 47, which is his middle name, and then Trump is 47. And Donald Trump is going to be the 47th president. So far, there's been 46 presidents, and Donald Trump is heavily connected to the number 47. So it's scripted for him to be the next president, and I'm going to prove it. Because not only does his name Trump equal 47, but his initials DJT also equals 47. And then Donald John Trump is 74, which is 47 reversed. And Donald Trump claims to have 74 million supporters. And another obvious hint that he's going to be the next president is the fact that his name is Trump, which comes from the word triumph. And as you can see, the definition of triumph is a great victory or achievement. So it's very obvious that Donald Trump is scripted to win. You know, it's in his name. And his name also comes from trumpets. And trumpets are mentioned a lot in the book of Revelation in the Bible. And like I said before, the Bible is not meant to be taken literal. So when we see these trumpets being mentioned in Revelation, you know, it's an analogy to Trump and many other things. So Aleister Crowley's real name is actually Edward Alexander Crowley. So his first and last name is Edward Crowley, which has the same gematria as Donald J. Trump with the number 49 in the same cipher. And then Donald J. Trump also matches with Edward Crowley, and Donald J. Trump also matches with Edward Crowley, and Donald J. Trump also matches with Edward Crowley, and Donald J. Trump also matches with Edward Crowley, and Donald J. Trump also matches with Edward Crowley, and with the number 69. And presidents were designed to hypnotize and mind control people. This is why I don't recommend watching the news or any of their speeches. Clearly, this character was created to hypnotize the minds. This is why Donald Trump and Hypnotize have the same gematria of 138. And they've admitted multiple times that celebrities were created to hypnotize people. Here's a video of Lil Uzi Vert admitting that his music is hypnosis.
Hi, I just want to rock. Ba-da-ya-ya. It's in my brain. Do you know that? It's living rent free. I can't get it out. You did that.
Yeah, it's hypnosis.
Any other performances or anything you're looking forward to?
I just want to see, one of my bosses perform. You know that?
Yeah.
It's the rock. Yeah, it's hypnosis.
There's so many people that think Donald Trump is for the people and he's a real person. Some people even believe he's a prophet and all type of stuff. But this character is actually controlled opposition, similar to Andrew Tate. And I made a video about that on my second channel. You can tell he's controlled opposition because he's scripted with so many things. Right here you can see Donald Trump and Illuminati have the same gematria of 48 in the same cipher. And then Donald J. Trump also matches with Illuminati with the number 69. And his original last name, which is Trump, has the same gematria as Masonry with the numbers 33 and 84. And Trump also matches up with Orange with the numbers 33 and 30. And Trump is known as the orange character on the world stage. Everyone makes jokes about how orange his face is. And there's so many memes about it as well. Orange equals 33 in gematria, just like Masonry. And 33 symbolizes the 33 levels of vertebrae, which represents going from your root chakra to your crown chakra and reaching enlightenment. This is why the Jesus Christ character died at age 33. And notice how they're comparing Donald Trump to Jesus Christ as well. Right here, they're calling him Cheeto Christ. And I did some research, and it turns out that Donald Trump's great-grandfather's last name was Christ. Most people don't even know about this or talk about this. Even his great-grandmother, her name was Anna Maria Christ. And that's a reference to the Virgin Mary as well, because her middle name is Maria. And then right here we see that Trump has his picture with the sun in the background. And it's very similar to the picture that Jesus has with the sun in the background. And Trump is doing the same symbolism as Jesus right here. And they even said Donald Trump is the brand new Jesus Christ. And he has the lamb. So they're making this character very similar to Jesus because they want people to worship this character as if he's Jesus. But in reality, he's actually the Antichrist that the Bible speaks of. There's multiple Antichrists. There's a bigger one that I'll expose later on my Patreon. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for that video, but I'm really taking my time with that because he's a very powerful character on the world stage that nobody questions. But Donald Trump is definitely another Antichrist, and Antichrist is just an analogy to the opposite of Christ. Christ represents consciousness, the crown chakra. So if someone's an Antichrist, they're the opposite of the crown chakra, which is the root chakra. And this is why Donald Trump, he's a big distraction, and he puts fear into people to get them to like him. So this is why Donald J. Trump and Antichrist have the same gematria of 49 and 68. Trump's grandmother was Elizabeth Christ Trump. And I find it interesting that her name is Elizabeth because Donald Trump was very close to Queen Elizabeth for some reason. And he's also doing symbolism right here. If you guys are interested in my video about Queen Elizabeth, I'll put a link to that video in the description because her death was very scripted. They did a lot of predictive programming with that. Then we see that Church of Satan and Donald Trump have the same gematria of 56. And this is not a coincidence considering the fact that his other character is literally a Satanist. As you guys can see, there's so many books and documentaries about him. They call him the Great Beast 666. He's known as the wickedest man in the world. And he literally called himself the Beast 666. And he was a practitioner of magic. So now let's talk about all the connections with the number 666. So first thing we see is that Aleister Crowley calls himself the Beast 666, which is a reference to the mark of the beast in Revelation 13:18. And of course, Donald John Trump, which is his full name, equals 66 in the Chaldean cipher. And Trump is directly connected to the number 666 because his last full day as president was January 19, 2021, and he announced that he was running for president again in November 15, 2022. So the distance between his last full day as president and his announcement for his next run for presidency were exactly 666 days apart. So this is definitely not a coincidence. And then we see that Donald Trump was indicted. You know, he made this tweet where he said they leaked the 33 points of indictment, and indictment equals 666 in Gematria. And Donald Trump was scripted to be indicted. As you can see, Donald J. Trump and indicted have the same Gematria of 888. And last thing I want to mention about Aleister Crowley is this weird picture. Apparently he drew this picture of an alien that he met while he was astral traveling. So you guys can let me know what you guys think about that in the comments, if that's real or fake. In my opinion, it's fake because, like I said, these characters spread a lot of truth, but they mix lies with it to confuse people. And people love running with the idea of aliens. And here's something that I posted on my Instagram years ago, and a lot of people brushed this off, but we can clearly see that Donald Trump's VP, Mike Pence, had a moment on TV where there was a fly sitting on his head and he wasn't moving. And as you can see, his eye turned red. So they showed us in plain sight on TV that these characters are not humans. Now let's get into the next character. And I'm not going to say his full name that he's known for. You guys can read it right here. I'm going to just call him Benito because characters like this are very sensitive. So Benito is their next character. He was an Italian dictator and journalist. And as you guys can see, Trump and Benito look exactly alike. And the biggest connection with these two characters is that they both led a nation. You know, Trump was the president of the United States and Benito was the dictator of Italy. So here's some more comparisons of them. And they look exactly alike right here. So many people can see the resemblance with this one. That's why there's so many people that have talked about it. And right here, they look exactly alike. They have the same exact features. And considering that Aleister Crowley is the base character, I'm not surprised that Benito also favors Aleister Crowley when he was younger. And notice how they're wearing a similar hat right here. So here's another comparison of Benito and Aleister Crowley. So back to the connections between Donald Trump and Benito. Here's some gematria that I found where Donald Trump and Benito have the same gematria of 196. And his full name is Benito Almilcar Andrea. And that's funny because Andrea is also a female name. But anyways, his full name is also connected to Donald Trump's full name. They both share the same gematria of 185. And Benito faked his death in 1945. And Trump was born in 1946. So do you guys really think that's a coincidence? This character dies and then a year later, their other character is born. And another connection is this other character that I cannot say his name, but I'm sure you guys can see who he is by this mustache. You know, he has a very bushy, distinct mustache. So I'll just refer to this character as his initials, which are AH. So here we see Benito with AH. And AH has a lot of connections to Donald Trump. These characters are very similar. So this is a big connection because these two characters are running a similar movement. And Trump's other character, Benito, was a part of AH's movement. They even have similar quotes about deceiving the masses. So AH said, "The gray masses of the people will more easily fall victim to a big lie than to a small one." And Donald is a believer in the big lie theory. If you say something again and again, people will believe you. So they both have similar quotes about deceiving people with lies. And they're even doing the same symbolism right here as well. Now let's talk about the scripting of Benito's death. So Benito was born in 1883 and murder equals 83. So this is why this character was killed. And then we see that he died in April 28th and killed equals 28. Now let's move on to the next character, which is General S. Patton. He was a general in World War II. And by this picture, I'm sure all of you guys can see the similarities of him and Donald Trump. You know, they even made Photoshop edits of Trump's face on a general because this one is very obvious. Here's some more comparisons of Donald Trump and General S. Patton. They look exactly alike right here. And as always, Donald Trump has made references to this character as well. Here's an article that says Trump plays Patton clip and bashes woke generals. So he's directly referencing Patton right here. And this is not the only time he referenced Patton. He also referenced him on Twitter. And this tweet is still up, by the way. He said, "May God have mercy upon my enemies because I won't." And this was a quote from General S. Patton, which is his other character. So he's directly referencing his other character in plain sight. General S. Patton is also connected to Benito. As you can see, they were both born in the 80s. So Benito was born in 1883 and George Patton was born in 1885. So they're only 2 years apart. And then Benito died in 1945. And George Patton also died in 1945. And then a year later, Donald Trump was born. So all three of these characters are heavily connected. And they made so many edits of Donald Trump being a general in the US Army, which is huge mockery considering that his other character was a general in the Army. And another connection is the fact that Trump was supposed to be in the Army because there was a draft in 1969, but apparently he was disqualified from the service because he was injured with bone spurs. So all of this was scripted. You know, they purposely put it in our face that he was supposed to be drafted in 1969, but he did not get sent to the war because they obviously had a bigger agenda for this character. And right here we see that the draft lottery was in 1969 and Donald John Trump equals 1969 in Gematria. So all of this was scripted, and this shows that celebrities are involved because they get special privileges to avoid certain things that regular people wouldn't be able to avoid, like being drafted into the army, for example. And I've talked about this before with characters like Charleston White, who got a little bit of time compared to a real person. Another connection between Trump and General S. Patton is the fact that Trump's name comes from trumpets, and trumpets are used in the military. And George S. Patton was a general in the military. Another connection is that Trump's name is also similar to triumph, and the second definition of triumph is the entry of a victorious general into ancient Rome. So his name comes from triumph, which literally has a definition about a victorious general's entry into ancient Rome. So this is a huge connection. Now let's move on to the next character, which is Boris Johnson. He was the Prime Minister of the UK, and this is a big connection considering that Donald Trump was the President of the United States. So if you haven't noticed, 4 of these characters were leaders. You know, Benito was a dictator, Trump is a president, Boris Johnson is a prime minister, and General S. Patton was the general leader of the army. So here's some comparisons of Donald Trump and Boris Johnson. This one is really obvious because they both have the same messy hair. Because according to my research, Donald Trump is actually bald and all of his hair is fake. This is why he has so many bad hair days like this. This shows that the world stage is a joke. The fact that the president literally has a wig, and they even caught him with bobby pins in his hair in Mexico. And some people edited Trump's picture to see what he would look like without the spray tan or fake hair. And this is what he would actually look like. This shows that he's a character. You know, they've done so much to his character to make him look presentable. And when he was sick, he looked a lot like Boris Johnson. Another connection is that Boris Johnson wished he was Donald Trump. Here's an article about it. Another connection is the fact that Donald Trump was born in New York, just like Boris Johnson. So they're both born in New York, and their birthdays are very similar as well. Donald Trump was born on June 14, 1946, and Boris Johnson was born June 19, 1964. So they're both born in June, and Trump was born in 46, and Boris Johnson was born in 64, and 64 is 46 reversed. And Boris Johnson is also connected to his base character, which is Aleister Crowley, because Aleister Crowley was born and died in the UK. And his other character, Boris Johnson, was the Prime Minister of the UK. Also, another connection, Boris Johnson's first name is Alexander, and Aleister Crowley's middle name is Alexander. So now let's move on to Trump's youngest character, which is Owen Wilson. As you guys can see, so many people made comparisons between Trump, Boris Johnson, and Owen Wilson because they look exactly alike right here. And here's a comparison of Owen Wilson and a young Donald Trump, and they look so much alike. So many people have noticed this one. They made so many comparisons of it online. And not only do these two characters look so much alike, but they also have the same gematria. So Donald J. Trump equals 49, just like Owen Wilson. And then their last names, Trump and Wilson, also have the same gematria of 29. And they even made memes about how Boris Johnson looks like a mixture of Owen Wilson and Donald Trump. Owen Wilson's full name is Owen Cunningham Wilson, and his full name shares the same gematria as Boris Johnson's full name with the number 98, and they also match with the number 253. Another connection between Trump and Owen Wilson recently dropped a movie called Paint on April 7th. April 7 is written as 4/7, which is 47, and Trump equals 47. And like I talked about earlier, Donald Trump is scripted to be the 47th president, and this is more proof right here. The fact that his other character dropped a movie on April 7th, I mean, come on now. They're giving us so many hints of this. And I think the biggest connection of them all between Owen Wilson and Donald Trump is the fact that Trump was a actor before he was a president. As you can see, he was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air doing symbolism with Will Smith, and he was also in Home Alone as well. So that shows that these characters that are presented in politics are just actors on the world stage. You know, Trump was literally an actor before he was a president. Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter are also presidents who were actors before they became president. So this shows that presidents are just actors on the world stage. You know, the fact that we've had 3 presidents already that were actors shows that they're just all good actors deceiving people. And Donald Trump's name is really recycled. You know, they have this big corporation called McDonald's, which I don't recommend eating this fast food trash, by the way, because fast food is very bad for you. I made a video exposing this on my Patreon. I recommend you guys check that out. But this reminded me of Donald Trump because McDonald's has this character called Ronald McDonald, and he's a clown, and people call Donald Trump a clown as well. And last but not least, Trump is also mixed with Elvis Presley. And keep in mind, Donald Trump is not 100% Elvis Presley. You know, he's only mixed with his character because Trump is mainly based off of Aleister Crowley, but they did mix a little bit of Elvis in there to throw people off. So this is why Elvis and Trump do look a little bit similar. And he's even compared himself to Elvis. So I'll make a separate video about this. The reason I never talked about this is because it's not really important, considering that Trump is mainly based off of Aleister Crowley. And Elvis is actually based off of an old king, which I exposed in this video. And he has many other characters. You know, he's also the Statue of Liberty and Khloe Kardashian. So if you guys want to watch that video, I'll put a link in the description. And Devon Sade made a good video exposing Elvis as well. The last thing I want to mention is that Trump's character is very scripted. You know, there's this Illuminati card game that has predicted many things. And one thing that they're predicting is that this character will be removed from the world stage. And I can't go too deep into this on YouTube, so I will make a separate video very soon exposing this, because this character will be removed from the world stage. There's so much predictive programming for that I can't show on YouTube. So make sure you guys go subscribe to my Patreon. I'm gonna drop that video very soon. And how I know this is going to happen, we can see that his base character Aleister Crowley has already faked his own death twice. So it's public knowledge that Aleister Crowley has already faked his death twice. And if you guys remember, my first video on Patreon is actually about this topic. You know, I can't talk about it too much right now, but you guys can go watch this video on my Patreon. And I will be dropping a new video about this on Patreon with more information that I found and videos that I can't show on here. So yeah, man, that's pretty much it for the video. The bottom line is that Donald Trump is a character on the world stage. I mean, when have we ever had a president that got arrested and people made memes out of his mugshot? You know, this shows that we're living in idiocracy. If you guys ever seen that movie, you know, they even made AI images making fun of this whole situation because it's really a joke. You know, what world do we live in where the president is getting arrested? This should have woke everybody up to the fact that this is a world stage. So yeah, these pictures are very funny. Here we have him running away from the cops, and AI is getting really creepy because soon it's going to get so good that people can't tell the difference between AI and real pictures. And we're already getting to that point. So yeah, last thing I'm gonna end off this video with is this quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt, where he said, "In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way." So in other words, nothing done on the world stage is genuine. Everything on the world stage was scripted and planned. And this character literally admitted this in plain sight. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to drop a like, share, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Follow me on Instagram and subscribe to my Patreon. I will be dropping that second video where I show proof and videos of them admitting that this character will be removed from the world stage. So thank you guys so much for your support. Make sure you guys share this video because people need to know the truth. You know, there's so many people deceived by the news and politics. And if only they knew that these were just characters on the world stage, people would stop taking it so serious and giving them their energy. So thank you guys so much for your support, and I'm out.